So Jabari Parker is in the rumors. It seems that he's fallen out of the Bulls' rotation. He could be traded pretty soon here. And when he eventually gets traded, if he does, I'll talk about that. But I really just want to talk about Jabari Parker, the player, right now, because I think where he's at in his career, which is his 5th season, looking at his stat line, what he's good at, what he's not good at, the fact that the Bulls are basically giving up on him after the Bucks gave up on him and essentially chose Ersan Ilyasova over him, is there a chance that Jabari Parker just kind of sucks? Yeah, I think it's on the table. If we can look at the things he does well, it's basically score from within the three-point line, okay? He's got some ISO abilities, got some mid-range abilities, some cut plays that you can run for him that could go okay. He's shown some life at getting to the free throw line occasionally throughout his career. I think he can be a pretty decent post-up player. I would say he even has some solid craftiness that occasionally reminds me of like Paul Pierce, I would say. Some contested shots and fadeaways and step backs and, you know, those type of things. However, once you move past that, the only thing I can really praise him for is basically his rebounding. Because when we look at his playmaking, his outside shooting, and of course his defense, I think there's a serious conversation to be had that Jabari Parker does not help you win basketball games. I mean, you could argue that over the past 2 or 3 years, he's been one of the worst defenders in the NBA. Okay? At least in terms of perimeter/wing players, I mean, the list would be like him, Carmelo Anthony, insert other people that I can't think of. I mean, hell, even James Harden can be a decent post-up defender, you know? So Jabari's been pretty bad there. And then when we talk about the playmaking and stuff, I think he gets into the problems that Donovan Mitchell is having this year, where he goes into the paint without a real plan. So then once the defense throws something at him that he's not expecting, he just kind of freaks out and he's like, what do I do? And he either throws a bad pass or he just kind of like sits there for a second and then throws it back out, which basically kills the offense. So that, of course, does not help you be an efficient offensive player. It can allow you to put up about 15 points a game on 45% shooting sometimes, but does it actually make your team's offense good? I don't know, that's another question entirely. His three-point shot has shown some signs over his career, but, you know, his first 2 seasons, of course, Jason Kidd just told him not to shoot threes, basically, which was not good for him, and that is one thing you can say about Jabari, is that you could suggest that he hasn't been given the best chance to really succeed in the NBA. Now, I don't think his mindset is the best either, and we'll get into it in a moment, but, you know, his first 2 years he had Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd is a bad head coach, okay? On top of that, we have had, can I talk? He's had injuries, okay? He's had a few injuries, and he's had to bounce back from them, and that's tough, especially for a dude who's so young, who's not being coached well. And then he had to change teams, and then right when he got back to the Bucks, they shifted from being this young team to being one that was trying to win, because that was when Giannis had really gone to the next level, so they didn't have time to wait for Jabari anymore. And now he's on this Bulls team full of young dudes, and, well, we all know how the season has gone for them. So, yeah, you can say as many negative things about Jabari as you want to, and I will agree with most of them, but is it possible that in a change of scenery with a good head coach and an organization and whatever that is willing to at least give him some time to figure it out, that we could see him be a bit better? Yes. Is it a guarantee? Certainly not, because the things that he is bad at, I don't know. I mean, the guy has straight up said he doesn't get paid to play defense. I think that is a very alarming quote that, sure, he was probably trying to be a little funny in the moment, I get it. But the other thing that says is, like, don't sign me if you want to win basketball games, you know? On top of the passing and the lack of spacing that he provides, because the jumper has never gone to another level, and yeah, there's definitely red flags committing to Jabari Parker. However, I do think Jabari is one of those guys where if he simply gets to being a respectable defensive player, which I understand is a big ask for him right now, and maybe he needs to lose some weight, and also he needs to, you know, just care a little bit more. But if he can do those things and just not be a disaster defensively and be good enough to actually play for 25 minutes a game, whether it's as a starter, off the bench, whatever, then I think his offensive game could be enough to make him actually pretty valuable, because I think Jabari's one of those guys where you can almost run any kind of play for him and he can do something, as long as the three-point shot can just be not horrible, which that's also an ask as well. But hey, he was decent for 2 years at least, okay? On not the most amount of attempts in the world, but it was better than nothing at like 2 to 3.5 a game. So if he can just make some threes, then suddenly it's like you can have him post up on switches, you can have him screen for pick and rolls or pick and pops, you can have him cut to the basket, you can have him move along screens, and if he gets an open opportunity, he can take it. I don't think he's someone who needs to have the ball in his hand that often to actually score. Now, you could argue that he wants the ball in his hands when he doesn't really deserve it, and that's a problem, but I do feel like he has some Danilo Gallinari in him, where you can just, like, he can score 17 points a game with only taking like 6 dribbles the whole game, like that kind of thing, right? And that can be a decent offensive player for you. But of course, he's got to get better at the other things. Now, in terms of what is the ideal team to take on Jabari, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't really know where he's going to end up from this move. I don't know if the team that trades for him, if he gets traded, is going to keep him past this season, because he's got that team option, and it could make sense for somebody to want to save some money if they are sending the Bulls like a longer contract or whatever. So maybe he gets released after this year and then some other team signs him. But I think the ideal situation for Jabari, it actually could be a team that's already like kind of good, because I feel like if you put him on a bad team right now, he's going to fall into a lot of the negative things that we've seen him get to in his career, right? But if he's on a team full of veterans that are expecting to win and they're going to hold him accountable, and it would help if that team also has a decent head coach, then perhaps that could just get Jabari to give a crap a little bit more, and they would say to him, hey, if you're not going to defend, we're not going to play you, okay? Because I don't think that's something that he's really had to face up to this point. Besides last year, I believe in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. He played 24 minutes a game in that round 1 series against the Celtics, so maybe not even then. But, you know, that's something that he's never really had to deal with. So, as far as what that team is, I mean, I don't know. Like, if I was a good team and I had cap space, well, I was about to say I wouldn't commit to Jabari, but it's safe to say he's not going to get a $20 million contract again. So, is there a chance that he could be on some like 1-year deal for $5 million if the team that trades for him declines his option, or if the Bulls hold on to him and then decline his option? Yeah, it's possible. And if that's the case, yeah, maybe I would swing for the fences at that point. And I guess it would also help if that veteran team was also kind of desperate for some scoring, or it could be a team that just believed that they could like rehabilitate him. That team that I'm thinking of is the Miami Heat, who are full of veterans and are desperate to get some more young talent. And hey, they've been playing Justice Winslow at point guard lately, and it's been going very well. So if they had to, it's like, say if Miami could re-sign, or not re-sign, but if they could sign Jabari this offseason to like $5 million for some short contract or something, given what they've done with like Dion Waiters, and D Wade lost a lot of weight there, and James Johnson did as well. Hey, it's an idea, you know? As for other teams, I don't know. Okay, use your imagination. You're smarter than me on this one. But yeah, I think Jabari, he still has a chance in the NBA. Okay, he's going to have a lot more chances. He's only 23 years old. He's had injuries in the whole 9 yards, but there is definitely a negative trend developing with him, and depending on what team he ends up on in the near future, I think that could help him out a little bit. But with all that being said, Jabari's going to have to get better as well. He's going to have to get better as a passer. I mean, his turnover percentage has been it's been like the same level of his assist percentage for most of his career, or even worse than it. He's going to have to show an actual pulse on defense, and his three-point shot is going to have to get to at least like league average. But if all these things happen, hey, he could still be pretty good.